Who was Heraclitus? Heraclitus of Ephesus, circa 535 to circa 475 BC, was a pre-Socratic Greek philosopher and a native of the city of Ephesus, then part of the Persian Empire. He regarded himself as self-taught and a pioneer of wisdom. From the lonely life he led, and still more from the apparently riddled and allegedly paradoxical nature of his philosophy, and his stress upon the needless unconsciousness of humankind, he was called the obscure and the weeping philosopher. Heraclitus was known to mostly speak in riddles, which gave him the title of the Dark Philosopher, which in some stories told could have been the reasoning for his death. In comparison to Democritus, the laughing philosopher, the satirist Juvenal said, "The first of prayers, best known at all the temples, is mostly for riches. Seeing this, then, do you not commend the one sage Democritus for laughing, and the master of the other school, Heraclitus, for his tears?" The reason for Heraclitus's melancholic disposition is because the lack of the unification of the people, and the extreme ignorance which ran rampant amongst the country in which he lived. He thought that many people misunderstood life, and when questioned about his solemnity, he would often reply, "Because I wanted you to speak." Most of our sources about Heraclitus come from Diogenes Laertius, who was a Greek biographer in the 3rd century AD. Diogenes states that Heraclitus's work was a continuous treatise on nature, but was divided into 3 discourses, one on the universe, another on politics, and a third on theology. Diogenes also tells us that Heraclitus deposited his book as a dedication in the great temple of Artemis, the Artemisium, one of the largest temples of the 6th century BC, and one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Ancient temples were regularly used for storing treasures, and were open to private individuals under exceptional circumstances. Furthermore, many subsequent philosophers in this period refer to the work. Diogenes relates that as a boy, Heraclitus had said he knew nothing, but later claimed to know everything. His statement that he heard no one but questioned himself can be placed alongside his statement that the things that can be seen, heard, and learned are what I prize the most. Diogenes came to the conclusion that Heraclitus had a poor opinion of human affairs, said that Pythagoras and Hesiod misunderstood some things, though they were learned, and believed that Homer and Archilochus deserved to be beaten. Laws needed to be defended as though they were city walls. Heraclitus hated the Athenians and his fellow Ephesians, wishing the latter wealth and punishment for their wicked ways. Says Diogenes, finally he became a hater of his kind, misanthrope, and wandered the mountains, making his diet of grass and herbs. Heraclitus's life as a philosopher was interrupted by dropsy. The physicians he consulted were unable to prescribe a cure. Diogenes lists various stories about Heraclitus's death. In 2 versions, Heraclitus was cured of the dropsy and died of another disease. In one account, however, the philosopher buried himself in a cowshed, expecting that the noxious damp humor would be drawn out of him by the warmth of the manure, while another says he treated himself with a liniment of cow manure, and after a day prone in the sun, died and was interred in the marketplace. According to Neothes of Cyzicus, after smearing himself with dung, Heraclitus was devoured by dogs. Heraclitus was famous for his insistence on ever-present change as being the fundamental essence of the universe. As stated in the famous saying, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." This position was complemented by a stark commitment to a unity of opposites in the world, stating that the path up and down are one and the same. Through these doctrines, Heraclitus characterized all existing entities by pairs of contrary properties, whereby no entity may ever occupy a single state at a single time. This, along with his cryptic utterance that all entities come to be in accordance with this logos, literally word, reason, or account, has been the subject of numerous interpretations. The philosophy of Heraclitus is summed up in his cryptic utterance found in Plato's Cratylus. Ever newer waters flow on those who step into the same rivers. All entities move, and nothing remains still. Everything changes, and nothing remains still, and you cannot step twice into the same stream. We both step and do not step in the same rivers. We are and are not. Heraclitus considered fire as the most fundamental element. He believed fire gave rise to the other elements, and thus to all things. He regarded the soul as being a mixture of fire and water, with fire being the noble part of the soul, and water the ignoble part. A soul should therefore aim toward becoming more full of fire and less full of water. A dry soul was best. According to Heraclitus, worldly pleasures made the soul moist, and he considered mastering one's worldly desires to be a noble pursuit which purified the soul's fire. Norman Melkert interpreted Heraclitus as using fire metaphorically in lieu of logos as the origin of all things. The Stoics were interested in Heraclitus's treatment of fire. In addition to seeing it as the most fundamental of the four elements and the one that is quantified and determines the quantity, logos, of the other three, he presents fire as the cosmos, which was not made by any of the gods or men, but was and is and ever shall be ever-living fire. Fire is both a substance and a motivator of change. It is active in altering other things quantitatively and performing it actively. Heraclitus describes as the judging and convicting of all things. It is the thunderbolt that steers the course of all things. Some famous quotations from Heraclitus include Hodos ano kato, the way up and the way down. Dike eris, strife is justice. Hepis thai to koino, follow the common. And ethos anthropoi daemon, character is fate.